Okay, is the presentation visible? Is the
No.
presentation visible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So there are a few things which I'm gonna touch today. That is the 12 attributes for almost all the teaching fraternity which has been used. Online teaching and learning, use terms of online teaching, essential principles and practices which has to be done when we are doing online teaching, and educational apps which are available for the people. Okay, so and we'll have a just brief about what is Google Classroom. Okay. So first we have to know what are these 12 attributes. So most of the people who are into teaching, so somewhere we will be teaching keeping something in mind. So there are some attributes that my student should understand or should develop. So as much as I know, in 2015 entire India started with something known as a Washington Accord, and in Washington Accord there are 12 attributes where a teacher has to incorporate these qualities in his students. So there is a knowledge base, so you have to build a basic knowledge for the student to start a thinking process. Okay, then problem analysis. So there are a lot of problems in and around us. So somewhere the student should be capable of analyzing the problem. Then investigation. Once you find the problem, you have to investigate what kind of problem it is. Okay. Then design. So now once you know a problem, you have to design some kind of uh, a plan where you will help to solve those problems. Then use of tools. Okay, let's see that it's not just for engineering. Let us take any domain. There are a lot of tools available already with us. Okay, some kind of analysis or some kind of these days AI related, machine learning related. There are a lot of tools that we can use to understand the problem better. Okay, then we have to incorporate another attribute known as individual and teamwork. So this is one of the most important attribute that we have to incorporate among our students. That is individually how we can perform, and as a team how we can perform. Then comes the communication skill. So most of the times, even if I know the problem, I won't be able to convey the problem. Even if I know the solution, it is very hard for me to convey the solution. So this is a very important attribute that somewhere a teacher should incorporate among the student, that is communication skill. Then comes professionalism. So there are certain professional responsibilities that each of us has. So consider me being a computer science graduate. So using computer science, how I can make my society better. So that is the professionalism that we all carry with us. Then comes impact on society and the environment. See, I develop a particular application or I do a certain task. Let's consider mechanical engineering or civil engineering. So constructing a particular building in a wrong way, whether I'm putting somebody under risk. So that is what impact on society and environment tells us. Then comes ethics and equality. So each one of us, whenever we do certain work, we have to follow certain professional ethics. Okay. Then economics and project management. Okay, this is a very important attribute. Personally, for me, this attribute has helped me from being a professor into an entrepreneur. So, how to manage a project, how it will impact a particular community, whether there is a demand, there is a supply. So, economics and project management is one of the things that will lead us to become an entrepreneur. Now, the last attribute is lifelong learning. Okay, so what exactly is lifelong learning? So, if I have to explain about lifelong learning, it is nothing but you are making a particular student uh, self what do you say, disciplined and self-confident that he can learn things on his own. So why this 12 attribute I am trying to address is, somewhere when we are talking about online teaching and learning, we have to incorporate some of these attributes in our teaching methodologies. And lifelong learning is one of the most important aspect in our online teaching. So somewhere if we create a environment where our students in the future are very flexible with the online learning and teaching, that is where we will be achieving this particular attribute, that is lifelong learning. They will be not dependent on anyone, they will be just guided by the faculties, and they will be learning on their own. So this particular attribute plays an important role in the future as well as in the present. Yeah, now let's talk something about online learning. So given a fact that there is only 9% of the academicians prefer online teaching or prefer to teach something online. Me myself, I am a person who likes to be interactive with the students and in the classroom. So if you suddenly tell me how do I feel about online teaching, I might not be that comfortable. Okay. So if you take a survey, there are only 9% of the academicians prefer online teaching environment. This is the fact that we have to accept. Okay. So are we ready for online teaching and learning? And if we are ready, what is the mindset of the academician and what actually he should be doing? So these are the things which I'm going to cover in the next topic. So academician point of view, like I am not talking about anyone here, let me take about myself. So clearly, I feel that online teaching, when in 2015 when I was using Google Classroom, I felt that it is not that important. Okay, I stressed more on offline teaching. So somewhere we are hindering our students from being a lifelong learner. So that is one aspect that most of the academicians, that is the 9% of the academicians don't think, and 91% of the academician thinks in this way. Most of us don't know to teach online, but we can get better by understanding few things, seeking help, uh, knowing some of the tools. Okay. And we feel that online teaching is not motivational. I can't motivate my students, I can't get motivated in online teaching, is what most of the academicians think. So online point of view, all you have to do is you have to find a proper system where you are engaging with the students more. That is the first thing which you have to remember. The second, enhance the user experience. So when I say user experience, it is nothing but the student experience. He should be more engaged with you. He should be loving the way you teach. He should be getting new informations. Okay. So need to learn new tools. Okay. And you have to keep it very simple. You shouldn't think it's an online course which you are doing and make it more complicated. Just plan your execution properly and just go with the flow. That is what the actual point of view is. So before we know some of the apps which are already there, so let us just understand few of the terminologies that will be used in online teaching. So first of all, we have to know something, that is LMS. LMS is nothing but learning management system. So uh, I guess most of you already have used Google Classroom. That is one of the LMS. There is Zoom, that what we are using now. Again, Zoom is not a LMS. It is just a interactive, that is the communication platform. Okay. So LMS can be any software which your college has already incorporated. So where it gives a platform to record students' progress. So in Zoom, we can't see that progress. Okay. But in Google Classroom, definitely we can. Present text, videos, or link to other sources. Submit their assignment or take a quiz or an exam also. That is very important these days. And discussion forum to engage with students. So there are a lot of ways in which you can do all this without a single LMS. You can have multiple LMS. That is, you can, for video platform, you can use Zoom. For communication platform, you can use WhatsApp, discussion platform. Okay. For online quiz and exam, you can have another platform. Then finally, to share your files and videos, you can use Google, what do you say? You can use the Google Cloud, or you can use Dropbox. So there are various applications readily available for you. If you combine all of them together, you can form a learning management system of your own. So finally, if you want to have a LMS, all it does is it helps in teaching and learning process. It helps in communication, content delivery, and assessment. So these are the four topics that any LMS should have. Then other things such as, okay, this particular thing we already know, module. So module is nothing but splitting your unit, that is whatever teaching topic you have. So consider you have 8 units in a particular uh, what is it, syllabus, okay, a particular topic or a subject. Okay. So if you have 8 modules, you have to split that into simpler things so that it will be easily understandable by your students. So the next topic is asynchronous. So asynchronous is nothing but if my students are not live at that particular moment, and if they are able to view my text or the content later stage, that is known as asynchronous. Class activities doesn't take place in real time. Now what we are doing now, that is in Zoom, this is synchronous, where it's a real time communication which is happening. We are interacting with each other. Okay. So what is the advantage of asynchronous is time flexibility. So there is, I mean, whenever the student uh, is free, or if some other activities are going on in his home, he can still look into the content what you are gonna put it in the asynchronous mode. Okay, all the trainers and the trainees should have some of the things, that is good computer or a good smartphone, reliable internet, and a bit of technical knowledge. So before, how it was, even if I didn't know some technical knowledge, I will be good in my particular subject. But these days, especially after COVID-19, so online teaching has become very important, and it is what it is going to be in the future also. So somewhere most of the uh, colleges, schools, and all already have started online courses or online teaching. I'll be in the next few slides, I'll be telling what are the mistakes that they are doing and how we can overcome those mistakes. So other things which we have to know is online whiteboard. Those who have already used Moodle, there is a application known as Moodle, okay, would have known what is a online whiteboard. It is a blackboard, but it is uh, online. That's all it does. Okay. Some of the example you can look into this particular application in the future. I mean, once we finish the session, known as our app, AWW app. So what this app does is, I mean, when you open this, actually you will let us see whether, okay, yeah. So it's a whiteboard where you have you can draw something, you can write something, you can cut it, you can paste it. Okay, you can ask your students to fill that particular whiteboard. Okay, so there are so many things that you can do using the online whiteboard. Now, the thing with most of the whiteboards are, uh, it is very difficult for us to write something using the touchpad or the mouse. So for that, what we do is, we have something known as a digital pen. It is just a connection. It's just like a device like a mouse, but somewhere I can use a digital pen with a slate. I can write, and whatever I scribble over there is visible on the whiteboard. That is one of the easiest way for a faculty to come close to what Blackboard is. So using that digital pen, I can get the feeling of writing something on my board with a chalk. So that is what most of the faculties are comfortable with. Okay, then screen sharing. So that is what we are doing now, where if I want to show you and just view what's there on the screen. Then webcam. So sorry. So webcam helps to engage students more. So somewhere it gives a feeling where the faculty is in front of you. That is the advantage of webcam. So apart from that, webcam, it doesn't have much to do, to be honest. And you should have a good mic too, so that we can be audible throughout the session. Okay, now let's talk about some of the principles and practices that we have to follow. Uh, See, one of the thing what most of us do is, we don't make a connection between your physical class and the online class. So somewhere we think that physical class is different, online class is different. That is the problem with most of the faculties. And to be honest, most of the training which they get in online class, okay, so somewhere they don't touch this particular topic. All they have to do is find a bridge between the physical class and the online class. Once they make this connection, everything falls into place automatically. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about some of the essential principles and practices that we have to adhere to when we are doing a online training and learning activity. Okay, first of all, show up to the class. Okay, so when we started the session today at 10 o'clock, so I saw some of the comments coming telling that please start the session as soon as possible, or please don't delay it. So that is what show up to the class. If I say 10 o'clock, I will start the class at 10 o'clock. The more you delay, the more the students lose their interest. Okay. Next, explain your expectations. So in a normal physical classroom, what happens is, if I give a assignment, I'll be telling them I need this assignment within this particular time. Okay, I say that it has to be written like this, or I say that okay, you have to do this particular thing. In online classes, you have to explain your expectation, because somewhere it is not just like handing over the documents or notes and finishing off your work. It doesn't work like that. So you have to tell what is your expectation, and you have to somehow convince it and convey it to your student. Okay, then organize course content. Sorry. So this is one of the most important thing which we have to understand. See, your physical class, what happens is, you are freely expressing yourself. I have more time where if I have to explain about equation, or I have to explain about economics, I can give 10 examples, or I will go in depth of that particular topic. But in online teaching, this is very difficult, because if you start doing it, people will somehow miss some of the topic. So you have to keep in mind that you have to organize your course content accordingly. You have to split down the course, and you have to make proper points, so that these points, when you are doing an online course, uh, it will be easily communicated to your student. Now, another thing is add visual appeal. Okay, this is uh, very much needed, because you can't just write a content which has nothing in it. You can't just write a notes and say, okay, this is the thing, please look into the notes. Somewhere when you are uh, explaining, you have to explain it visually. Okay? The user should be, or the student should just see it and understand what is the topic, or he should be able to understand what is the explanation that you are trying to give them. Okay, add visual appeal is one of the most important thing that is required for online courses. So uh, uh, some of the things that you can do is, you can just go and search what is Toon Boom. Toon Boom is an animation application, where using that I can visually enhance the experience of my user. Okay, or we have uh, other presentation techniques where we can make it visually appealing for our students. Okay, scaffold learning activities. This is what I was trying to explain previously. So we have to cut down the teaching process now. So previously I had a lot of time in my classroom where I can just sit and try to explain them each and every topic. Now it is very difficult for us to do that. The reason is, students will not understand, like a set of students will understand, the other set of students might not understand what you are trying to explain them. So content creation well in advance is very much important when it comes to online courses. Okay, so you have to make sure that your content is well understandable by your students. Provide examples. Again, in offline teaching, what happens is, I can give any kind of explanation on the go, but that is not possible in offline online courses. So you have to choose your examples wisely, and you have to explain that to your students in the online courses. Okay, yeah. And when you are in a classroom, you will be joking around, you will be talking something, you will be asking about what happened in cricket or something like that. But when it comes to online teaching, somewhere everything vanishes. So you will stop talking to your students anything more than what you are going to teach. Okay, you will be just giving them documents, you will be asking them questions, exams. Don't make it like that. Make the experience inviting and enjoyable for the students. So somewhere it's the experience matters at the end of the day. So your teaching technique should be inviting and enjoyable by your students. And the last one is continuous improvement. So this continuous improvement is for self, for the faculty. So it is, we have a lot of as I said, we have a lot of applications readily available. We have some paid, we have some free, we have asynchronous, we have synchronous. So continuous improvement of what all technology is available, what all tools are available for communicating with my students, is what makes our online teaching better. So that is one of the most important thing for any academician to understand. So continuous improvement of how I can make my online teaching better. Okay, so we will understand some of the educational applications for the teacher and educator, real time as well as offline. So before I speak something about this, most of the applications what we are using right now, for example Zoom. Okay, so this was used to communicate inside an organization or a software company or a normal company or any companies. Okay, so we are using project management applications now as a application used for teaching and learning. So somewhere you also have to understand that these are project management applications. So it's a very good uh, I mean, step ahead for us where we are making our students professionals. Okay, so uh, for example, there is an application known as Slack. Okay, we have been using Slack in my organization, in my company for the last 2 years, where it helps us to understand who is doing what is the speed in which he is doing. If he has any doubts, how he can communicate with the project manager. So there are so many applications already which were available previously for most of the companies. Now the faculties and the students are using similar kind of application. So it's a step ahead for most of the educational organization, where they are building their students more professional, or they are incorporating professional ethics right from the start. So this also helps students to understand how professional works. Okay, so let's start with the first application, that is Zoom, that we are already using. So if you see Zoom, you have almost everything, where you can share files, you can use a whiteboard, so you can have a video chat, you can have a audio chat. So Zoom is one of the best application which has been used in the recent time, and I mean, most of the colleges and students are using it for their online courses. But again, Zoom is not a LMS, that is learning management system. You can't take the attendance, you can't grade the students, you can't what do you say, you can't use it as session. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So Zoom drawback is that where it is not a learning management system. The only drawback of that. Apart from that, it is one of the most amazing application that we can use, where it helps us to interact with our students. Okay. The next application, where if I want to make my classroom session more interactive. So if you remember, I was telling that inviting and enjoyable. Okay. To do that, Kahoot is one of the application where it changes the classroom into a game show. Okay, so I have to use such kind of tools where I can interact with my student and make them enjoyable. Okay, my classroom sessions to be enjoyable. So Kahoot helps us to build questions and answers and grade it automatically, and you can communicate it to the students. It then comes the Google Classroom. To be honest, one of the best LMS which is available in the market right now. Uh, it has its own few of the drawbacks, but again, Google continuously acts and works to overcome those drawbacks. So you can create a class, you can create a lesson, you can what do you say, interact with your students. You have Google Drive to put your presentation. Okay, and it's a mutual communication which happens in Google Classroom. So this is a proper LMS. So initially we didn't had video. Now they have added something known as Google Meeting that can be incorporated as a plugin to your Google Classroom, and you can use it for your online sessions. Then we have something known as Remind. Okay, so this is another important thing is when you are doing online classes. I mean, for an institute, I'm not talking for an individual professional. I'm talking for an institute. Okay, like colleges. Now, I just can't communicate only with my students. Somewhere I have to keep track of them and also inform the parents about the uh, progress of my students. So this particular app helps communicate with students and their parents in real time outside the classroom. Okay, you can do announcement, initiate group chat, or contact people privately through the application. So Remind is one of the uh, better app to do a session with the students as well as the parents. Okay, now Slack. Okay, Slack is the one of the application which we had used previously for most of our projects. So most of the client wants us to be on Slack, where they will track what is the improvement which is happening with their project. Okay, they can post a message, they can post a file. Okay, they can ask some questions, you can get a reply to it. So Slack has been used by professionals from a very long time, and now it has been used by professors and college students. This helps us to think in a more professional way. Okay, so Slack is a better option. I mean, you guys should try it out in your colleges. If there is a small group of students who are doing any project, so you can use Slack for that. The same with the Trello. Trello is another app which we have used previously for some of our Australian clients. So again, this is similar to Slack, but the organization or organized way of in which this app has been done is really amazing. It also looks into your project management. It has a tool where you can put your UI UX. You can interact with your clients, or you can post a question, do a poll. So that is what Trello does. The next app is Edit Editio. Okay, now this particular app helps us. Okay, so for attendance, calculating grades, plan your timetable, and you can do it all in your mobile. So Editio is a very important LMS because somewhere I have everything over there, and it is very handy for the faculties or teaching community. So it helps us to understand the it just simplifies the uh, process in which I do the attendance or I do the grades, and grades are calculated automatically, so I don't have to sit and calculate each and everything. Based on the answers, it takes an average, and it just gives the average of a particular student. And planning your timetable is also an important task. So most of the applications doesn't help you in timetable things. So Editio does help you in timetable. And the last one is to make things more interactive. Study Blue, what it does is it creates flashcards. Okay, flashcards are nothing but, if I am able to show you, okay, it's like a simple note. Okay, small notes. Okay, you will be writing something on that, and that will be viewed by your student, and student can also make his own flashcard over there. And apart from that, you can have quiz, and you can have audio or video messages which you can send it to your students. So these are some of the applications which we can use for our day-to-day online teaching. So Zoom is a better option when it comes to webinars or live session. Okay, but if you are looking for a long term where you are interacting with your students, engaging them more, so it is better that you have something known as Google Classroom, or you can use something like as Editio. Apart from this, there are many applications where LMS is served. It has video, audio in that. So you can just search LMS in Google, and you will get to know more information about LMS. So I'll just give a walkthrough of how Google Classroom works. It's a very simple technique or a simple application. You just have to previously it was known as Google G Suite apps for class. Okay, now it is known as Google Classroom. So what it does is it helps us to communicate teachers and students together. Okay, you can give assignments, you can what do you say, take a test, you can create a class, you can do a live session interactively, not through video. So you can send some materials to your students to that. You can also check who is active, who has uh, uh, looked into those assignments. So all these things using Google Classroom you can actually do. So what are the things you can't do? Okay, to be honest, what I have written here is Google Classroom is an online learning platform, but it isn't a chat box. Particular student, it is very difficult. To overcome that particular problem, we have something known as Google Hangout. I can make a particular group over there and I can start interacting with my student. Okay, so I can actually integrate test and quiz tools also. So if you actually go and see what are the plugins that goes along with the Google Classroom, you'll be getting a list of things that you can actually add to the Google Classroom. Okay, it is very simple. If you have a Google account, that's all you need. You can just set it up. Or if your college already has a, Google Classroom tie-up, that is well and good. So create your first class, invite students to your class, put assignments, put study materials, and students will be knowing, getting notification about the same. Okay, and if there are some Q&As, so Google Doc helps us to create an Excel file and just post it in your uh, mail. So it's a very simple process. Using Google Classroom, you will be engaging more with your students. And as I said, if you just check with your um, uh, the plugins which goes well with your Google Classroom, you can see a lot of them. There is Book Widget, ED Puzzle, Bones, Nearpod, okay, Curiosity. So there are so many plugins which goes well with your Google Classroom. The same is true for Zoom. Zoom, I can actually add some of the plugins in the existing application, and we can use it for a better purpose. Right now we are actually having a webinar. It does like a video session, we have some chat session, we have a moderator, but somewhere we can also make it as a LMS by using third-party plugins. Okay. Hello. Yeah. So we'll just reframe one thing, I mean, once again, so that it will be easy for us to understand how we can use the app. So one is asynchronous, where I'll be communicating with the student, not live. Okay, so somewhere I will post my videos or audio or documents or assignment, and I will let the user to use it. Okay, that is asynchronous. Then we have something known as synchronous, what we are doing right now, Zoom or some Google Classroom. So these are synchronous, where it's a online, where whenever I am doing something, the user will be getting to know it and I'll be expecting a reply from him. So these are synchronous applications. And all you have to remember is, first, your content. Okay, your content should be understandable by the user or the student. Okay, we can't do it like a classroom, that is a physical classroom, where I can give a lot of examples. So if my examples are not to the point, yeah, if my examples are not to the point, there are chances that my student might not understand what I am trying to do. The second, engagement. See, it is very difficult for us to motivate the student or get self motivated when I'm doing the online classes. Okay, So we have to find that motivation by making the class more interactive and more engaging with the student. Okay. The third, we have to bridge between our physical classes and the online classes. So if I get the communication, or if I connect these two things, that is what is actually needed for all the academicians. So somewhere we are not able to connect our physical classes with our online classes. So we are not finding that balance. Once we find that balance, it will be very easy for us to explain or communicate or convey the knowledge which we know. We can impart it to our students. The third part is assessment part. What I have taught to my student, whether he is understanding it or not. If I have, hello, yeah, if that is not done, that is assessment part is not done, then again you are missing the whole concept of online teaching. Okay, assessment is the most important aspect, where I will understand what my student have understood. Okay. The fourth, after assessment, see, there is a continuous follow-ups, feedbacks from the student. If in the entire online structure, if I'm missing the feedback, or if I'm missing what do you say, follow-ups, so again the online system will fail, where you won't be able to understand what mistake you are doing, so that my students are not able to understand. Once you have mastered this, what you will be doing last is